If I would have had more time, I would have tried to make some diagrams and charts, but I didn't. But I don't think that it's very hard, but maybe it would have been more organized with some charts later on in the sugis about drushes. But Bez Hashem. So before we spoke about all kinds of before were bases that this also is going to, or talking about get and things that made that Yibum shouldn't be the proper way. Now we're talking about the actual Yibum, and here is also talking about that the Yibum was not done with the right kavanah. Maybe Moshe just mentioned about that we do Yibum or Chalitza. The Gemara says the tzad not to do Yibum is because we didn't have the right kavanah, so then it wouldn't be a perfect Yibum. Only if you did it l'shem mitzvah. That's also machlokus, and that would be the machlokus. Some more that the kavanah is not the issue. But here it's going to say that as far as becoming married, they do become married even if there was no kavanah. Even over there it says that if he had the wrong kavanah for his own marriage, whatever, so then it's not the greatest. But it doesn't really mean a mamzer. And here it's going to say that for sure it's a good marriage. They're married, and that's our mission over here. And here it gives extreme cases that it wasn't only that he did it for personal reasons. Here he didn't even know that he's supposed to marry her, or that he didn't know who she is even. He didn't know that he thought that it's his wife maybe. Mamish didn't intend. Or he thought that it's an Arab and he meant to do an Avera. Still, the Maisa, they had they cohabited, so they become married. It'll go with more details now, but that's the main point. That even if they thought of doing an Avera by mistake, or they thought of doing an Avera intentionally, or they were forced into it, or the Rasan would mean that they did it for the right purpose, they did it they willingly to do the mitzvah of Yibam, or it's the same as Mezid. And even if one and one, afilu who shogig v'imazida who mezid v'shogegas who onus v'hilo anusa he anusa v'hulo onus. Even if one of them had one kind of kavanah, the other one not. The other one was worse. One was mezid, one was shogig, one was honest, one was not. All these cases, it's a marriage. That's going to end off this word kana at the end is going to say that in all these cases is kana. But it says one more word. Also, as far as how much did he penetrate, this is a general issue that we're going to talk about. That as far as we considered a bia that is considered cohabitating, whatever the word is, that even if it was not a complete penetration, just he began the penetration. The word ma'ara means to start to penetrate, even though he didn't make a complete bia. Still, it is considered kana. So that was the mission said so far about the kavanah, shogig, mezid, onus, and also even if it was only hara, also they become married. There's no difference what kind of bia it is. The pashut pshat mission whatever we said so far. It doesn't make a difference if it was a bia that was a hara or a complete bia or whatever kavanah it had. There might be that the Gemara is going to say that there's more included in this point of bia than bia lebia. We'll see as we go along. And then the mission ends off that so too whatever we said also applies to another subject, nothing to do with us. We're talking about Yibum. But once we're on the subject, how about any kind of arayas? That if someone had relations with the erva, and the law is that the woman becomes puzzle. We're going to talk about in the Gemara also about the actual avera. The avera makes them liable for punishment, but the mission is not talking about that. The mission is talking about pusla, that in all these cases, the woman becomes puzzle because she had such a kind of a relation with a person that she's not allowed to. Either erva or apostle. Erva is going to be like chayv chorus. Apostle sounds like chayv elav, and like the mission says right away, examples of psulos. What's called the isha psula. Kigon amana l'kohen gadol, usha v'achlusa l'kohen hediot, mamzer sunasin al yisrael, bas yisrael mamzer l'nosin. It gives examples of chayv elavin. An alman is not allowed to marry a kohen gadol. A grusha, a divorced woman is not allowed to marry a kohen hediot, even a chalutza with rabbanan. A mamzeres sunasin al yisrael, that is also to have relations with a mamzeres. And also Bas Yisrael to a mamzer. All those are Chayv Lavin. It also throws in a nasin. We'll get eventually what a nasin is. It also has a din of a mamzer. They were from the Givonim. Like it says in Sefer Yoshua, they gave them a din of a mamzer also. So all these cases, it's skipping all the examples, and also doesn't give examples of arais. Arais means mamish, the cases that are going to be Chayv Krisas and Chayv Misas Bezdin. So if someone had relations with one of these arais or psulos, so the lacha is pasla, that the woman became puzzled because that's called, Rashi says it's called a zona. A zona means that they had relations with someone that she's not allowed to. Rashi points out that a panay and a pnuya, unmarried man and woman, that doesn't make her a zona. Even if they would have relations out of marriage, but neither one is married, but that also would not make her into a zona. Again, it says the same thing, that there's no difference. A pashut pshat would go like I said before, that even if it was not a complete penetration, and also even if it was without any kavana, as far as pasla means, the point of pasla doesn't make a difference if it was dafka an avera, even if it would have been the shogeg or ba'ones, but the mice of the woman had relations with someone that's also to her, so she becomes puzzle tikuna. She's not allowed to marry a Kohen anymore. She can eat truma and makes her a puzzle. So that whole issue.
Doesn't mean being that you do it not the derech.
Right, they say that, but in the Mishnah you don't see that. They bring down that the Gemara is going to say that. That's what's doing the simple pshat, and it's going to say it means it's saying more than the simple pshat. And the words of the Mishnah told us two dinim. One is about the kavana, and one was about only a beginning of a penetration. But you're saying a pshat that it also means even if it was shlokadarka, that it was not in the osamakam, it was not in the vagina, it was in the rectum. Also, that would also be considered a bia as far as these halachas go. But we'll get to that in the Gemara more. So that's the Mishnah. So how did it start? Afilu hu shogeg bi mazida. The Gemara asks, "My afilu, what is the addition by saying afilu?" Let me buy you comment. The Mishnah is saying that it goes without saying. Well, more and more b'chiddush. Let me buy you who shogeg bi kamachavna la mitzvah. Inami who makes it vika machavna la mitzvah. El afilu who shogeg bi mazida, or both of them are the tavayla kamachavna la mitzvah afilu hachikana. The beginning of the Mishnah when it says that it was a shogeg or mezid or onus, it's good. Then it goes afilu who shogeg become azida. So it's coming to say the beginning part of the Mishnah, the first line of the Mishnah, meant one of them was a shogeg, one of them was a mezid, one of them was an onus, but the other one had the right kavanah for mitzvah yibum. Then it goes on to say afilu both of them had the wrong kavanah. Afilu both of them. The Mishnah doesn't say about both of them being a shogeg, both of them being a mezid. It says one is a shogeg, one is a mezid. One is amazing, one is a shogeg, one is honest, one is not. It doesn't say the case about both of them. The Brisa right away is going to say that also. But the first thing the Gemara says is that the chiddush of the afilu is even if both of them have wrong kavanas, not like the first line of the Mishnah, that one had a bad kavanah, the one had the proper kavanah. Not only if one had a bad kavanah and one had a good kavanah, even if both of them had a bad kavanah. And the examples of the Mishnah are that one was shogeg, one was mezid, the tavai lo kamachavim l'shem mitzvah afilu achikana. And then the Brisa does continue what we wanted it to say. Even both of them are mazidim, both of them. Tani Rabchia, afilu shneim shogeg and shneim mazidim, shneim anusim, also no difference. I don't know why the Mishnah doesn't say this case. I don't see the difference between one shogeg, one mezid. Both of them are mezid, both of them are shogeg. The Mishnah doesn't say this case. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't seem to be a machlokas. Everybody agrees. The Gemara wants to know what's the case of the honest. It says in the Mishnah even honest. Honest means it was against their will, not a shogeg, not a mezid, but against their will. The Gemara has a few possibilities, and the Gemara tries three times, and then the Gemara finds a fourth case, which I'm not sure what I don't have clarity, but we'll try. That a goyim forced him to have relations. That would be the simple case, that he was forced, physically forced to have relations. And that's called an onus. And there's a chiddush that still is considered bia and yibum is kona. But by right, we never considered it an onus because the fact that he gets erection is only with his own das. Nobody can force him to have erection. He did that himself, even if they brought him to the situation. But the fact that he got erection, that's only because he was aroused. That's his doing. So it's not considered an onus. So the Gemara seems to say that it wouldn't be a chiddush that it's kona, because even though he was forced into the situation, almost, but the fact that he got erection, that's his own doing. So it wouldn't be considered an onus, and it's much of that as a good kinyan. So try number two. That's one try which says it's not called an onus even. It's true that it's kona, but it's not a chiddush. It's not called an onus. Maybe he's sleeping. In his sleep, he had relations. That's called an onus. But the Gemara says, no, that's such an onus that it's not going to be kona. Rav Yehuda, Yoshein lo kona bivimto. That if somebody would have had relations with his Yevamos in his sleep, he's not kona. And the point is because he doesn't even know what he's having a bia. The Gemara is going to say that he has to at least know that he's having relations. If he's sleeping and he's not even conscious of that, then he wouldn't be kona. So it wouldn't be true. That kind of onus is not going to be kona. So a third try, ela benitka. Nitka would mean that the word nitka means that it was thrust in. But thrust in that, like the Gemara says, example. Of course, the example never happens, but the Gemara just wants to say, the Gemara doesn't care about the example ever. This we had a lot of times. The example could be a crazy case. That's not the point. The point is the lumdus, the principle. If someone would have fallen from the roof, means with no kavanah at all, and he got thrust into a woman here, the case would have been. So then he would be chayiv in four things, four kinds of nezek, like we're going to say, nezek, tar, ripoi, sheves. We'll get into the Gemara soon about the four kinds of damages that a person has to pay. Means even though it wasn't his fault, he's still chayiv for damages. A person's mother mud la'olam, a person has to pay for damages that he did even if it wasn't his fault. But if it would have happened such a situation where he had a beer with a woman that wasn't his fault at all, he fell off the bed, he fell the gag. He felt that it was nitka into his yivama and had him act of cohabit, but it wasn't with any kind of an intention. Also, low kana, that's a kind of a beer. Again, he didn't have das for beer. Same thing as Yashin. Such like by sleep, didn't have intention for a ma'aser bia. So even though he also didn't have a nitza, didn't have intention for a ma'aser bia. So it's low kana. So what is the case? Mishnah says that an onus is kana. We had three choices so far. None of them worked. The first one was good. Goyim is not called an onus because he's the one who erected himself. And in the case of Yashin or Nitka, where he was taken onus, but that kind of an onus is taken not kana. Where does the Mishnah say that an onus is kana? So the Gemara says, so the point is to say that he already had erection. He did erect himself, but not that he erected for the purpose of this Yevama. He got erection because he was interested in his wife. But then he was forced and had relation, and they took him, or either she took him. It doesn't really make a difference. The Torah means this is a case where she is doing it with the right intention. Let's say he's doing it with the wrong intention. He was a shogegor. But the case of onus, I mean, he's an onus, but she's not an onus. She's the one who's doing it to him. So she took him and pulled him when he's already erected in order to have a bia. So it's called the case that he was an onus and she was not. The Gemara could have said at this point already also that Goyim did it. They forced him. They didn't force her. But it says that she's the one herself. You don't need it, l'chara. He was forced. She was not forced. But the point of the Gemara is to say that the erection, if it would have been that he got erected for this act, that's not called an onus. He did it himself. The point is he had erection before for a different purpose, for his wife, whatever it was, and now they was forced physically to have the Yevama. That's called an onus. What would be the case of his Bryce said both of them are honest? So the same case that he was already had erection, but then the going forced both him and the woman that they should be together. They put them together. That he had already had erection, and they forced him and her to have this act. Not that they no one did anything; they were forced. And we have a case where it's possible to have an onus. The point is, the principle is that it does to have kavanah the mind, yes, that the act of being, he knew what's happening. He was das. It wasn't a case of Yashin. It wasn't a case of Nitka that he did have das, but that he was forced. How? That's the case of onus. So now the Gemara goes in to just to know we know. How do we know this halacha was without kavanah? And the Gemara Nadashin here it's in the green over here, but first the Gemara says another drasha, that's going to be a problem. How do you have two drashas? But mitzvah. First of all, it says that it is a mitzvah, which we said that if it's a choice of chalitza or yibum, so yibum is the preferable way to do it. So we spoke about that just before Moshe mentioned it, that nowadays we do chalitza preferable or yibum. It says that originally everybody holds that yibum is the preferable way. The question is only if nowadays we don't have the right kavanah, maybe it's better to do chalitza. Everybody holds that yibum ideally yibum is better. That's the pasuk Yevamos Yavaleh. Another drasha to learn from here. Yevamos Yavaleh ben shogeg ben mezid ben onus ben rus. That's what we wanted. This is really what we're looking for, and that's the maskana. That the reason, the source that we know to our Mishnah is true is from this pasuk Yevamos Yavaleh. But the Marzakasha that the Bryce itself said two drushes for the same pasuk. First it says a mitzvah, and then it says it even shogeg mezid. So it's two drushes from the same pasuk. Va'fikte mitzvah. You already learned it. So the Gemara says that the first drusha is not really meduyak. You don't really learn out mitzvah from Yevamos Yavaleh. That's from a different place. The mitzvah, we learn it out from the pasuk where it says if he doesn't want to do yibum, then he can do chalitza. But that much Moshe already says, it's mashma that if he would want, then it's better to do yibum. So that we know already. This part of the beginning of the brisa is not accurate. The beginning of the brisa is just a remez, that's a smachta, so to speak. That's not the real pasuk. Yevamos Yavaleh is not used to tell you mitzvah. Yevamos Yavaleh is coming to tell you ben b'shogi, ben b'mezid, ben b'ratzon, ben bonus. And pasuk that in Allah to know that it's a mitzvah is learned out from the Imlo Yachbot Saish. Tanya Ida, we have different brayos which also we're gonna say the same thing as far as we're concerned, but there's a different drush over there. To have the yibum is that the regular way of yibum, the natural way, which means in the vagina. But the pasuk says Yevamo Aleha ulakacha lo lisha v'yibma, and the Gemara is going to dash these psukim over here. So first it says the best way to do it the lachatchila with the mitzvah kedarka, but the lukacha even shelo kedarka. Since it says the pasuk lukacha, we learn out that he would have relations not in the normal way. Also, that would still make her kona. Also, he acquires her. Then it says v'yivma. So the Gemara is dashing first the word v'yivma without the hay, and then it's going to add on to the hay also. If it would have just said v'yavim, so that tells us that even though you find by Kedushin that there are three ways, but over here it's only bia, that the way to become a Yevama is only with the act of relations, of cohabitation, but money or star is not a way to acquire a Yevama, only a wife. But it does have a hay also, besides v'yabem, it says v'yivma. Was that balkarcha? That even if she was unwilling also, if he had relations with her, it does acquire her. We had a sugya, we just mentioned it about kofan, if he's a mukashkin, then she can say she doesn't want. And also Tosfos and Rashi talk about if she has a different reason why she doesn't want. But here it's saying that the act of Yibum, if he did a balkarcha, also is kona. The Gemara has a problem with this because here we're saying that Yevama Yovel as Kedarka, but we said before that the drasha was Bebe Shogi Bebe Mezid, which is really what we're looking for. We wanted this drasha before that Yevama Yovel Bebe Shogi Bebe Mezid, and now we're saying that it's for Kedarka. The first price said first mitzvah, and now we took care of that. It's a different pasuk. This price has another drasha Kedarka, and now you can't use everything for the same pasuk. But I think they look at Kedarka, so I use it for the pasuk. So this price also is not accurate when it said Yevama Yovel Kedarka. That's not the source. The source is someplace else. We learn it from the pasuk that says that he should have relations with his wife, with his Yevama, in order to give continuation to his brother. It has to be that it has to be make him shame. The point is to make for his brother a continuation, that he should have children. So if that's the purpose, it has to be there's a kedarka. Kedarka means in a way which is possible to have children. If he doesn't in the rectum, he doesn't have any kind of chance of having children. So that's the pasuk where it says the way to do is kedarka. We learn out ulukacha shalo kedarka. Also, he's kona. But the mitzvah of Yibum is kedarka, but not from the pasuk of Yevama Yavayallah, but from lakim la'achiv shem. The pasuk of Yevama Yavayallah remains extra as we had said the whole time. So we're happy just to zoom out. The mission started off that the question was where do you know it from, and the answer was from Yevama Yavayallah. That's the drasha that stays. We did get some other information that lachatchila to do yibum from the pasuk of him lo yachbos, and also lachatchila to do kedarka from the pasuk of malakim la'achiv shem. Also, we had the din of yibma that balkarcha, and also not kesef and shtar. All these things came in aga, but the main point we were looking for was how do you know that even b'shogeg b'mezid and ba'onis? And the answer is yivamo yavo alehu. So on the way, we mentioned in the beginning of the Gemara about a Yashin and about a Nitka, that they're not kona because he had no das for Bia. He didn't even know he's doing a Maisa Bia. And the Gemara goes into that now. Gufa, Amrav Yudah, we learned before, Yudah said, these are Amora, Yashin lo kana b'yivimto, that if somebody is sleeping when he had relations with his Yivama, that's not kona. Tama kro, Yivama yavah even though we said a second ago, Yevama Yavayallah is coming to tell you in any way, Shogig Mezid and onus, but at least it doesn't. But it does mean with a kavanah of bia. You know he's doing a ma'aser bia, but over here that he's sleeping, and let you know he's doing that, so that he's not kona. The Master Kasha. Akasha on Rav Yehuda, who's an Amora from a Brisa, it says in the Brisa, Vatanya ben Er ben Yashin. It says that he is kona. It says in the Brisa that Yevama is kona even if he's sleeping. So it's against Rav Yehuda. The Gemara says, it doesn't mean him, it means her. That even though she might be sleeping, but if he's sleeping, it's not kona. He has to do the Maisa Bia, and if he didn't know he's doing a Maisa Bia, it's not kona. The Brisa is saying if she's sleeping, it's okay. But the Gemara says it's not true. But Tanya, it says no difference. He's sleeping, she's sleeping, it says that the kona. So it's not true. It's a Kashan of Yudah who says that Yashin is not kona. The Brisa says Yashin is kona. So the Gemara says there's two different kinds of sleeping. There's dreamling, dozing, and then they're sleeping. If he's only dozing, but he's partially awake, so then that is kona. That's what the Brisa means. But if he's completely sleepy, that's what we meant. He has no das at all. What's the hagdara? What's the definition of someone who's dozing? That he's sleeping and not sleeping, awake, not awake, means half sleep, half awake. And if you call him, he answers, but he doesn't know to answer any kind of thing that takes thought. Yeah, if you say hello, he'll say hello. But you ask him what time is it or something like that, or or where did he put something, he's not going to know.
No, maybe he would. As far as like something would, then just what time it is, no?
I think not. I think Sfara means that's something that takes some thought. He's enough awake.
Time takes thought. You just look at the clock.
That
it means Svar. Like, well, what do you think about this?
I don't think so, but whatever you think. If they remind him, he'll be reminded. It means that you ask him where you put something, he doesn't remember. But if you tell him, did you put it in the wallet? Something that takes thought. I think the time takes thought. I think so, but I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. But the first thing he says that you call him, he's awake enough that when you call him, if he's so sleepy that you call him, he doesn't answer. That's called that he's sleeping. And as far as our subject is, he wouldn't be kona by Yevama. But if he's only dozing, so then he would be kona by Yevama. The other thing the Gemara said on top was about Nitka. He just fell into her. Also, no kavana. He might have been erected already, but the Maisa Bia wasn't done with attention at all. So that's not even called onus. Shodik Maisa. That's nothing. It's not kona. But the Gemara goes on to the side point, not about Yibum, but about that it said that if he did damage, he's chayiv on the damages. So as far as we says we but the Gemara doesn't want that. The Gemara wants the parentheses that he also has to pay for damages, but it doesn't say 5 things. It says 4, and usually damages is 5 things. So the Gemara explains when a person usually damages, there are 5 payments he has to make. One is for the damages, how much the thing is devalued because of whatever he did, and Sar means the pain, how much the pain would have been worth in order to get out of the pain, how much money is that worth. Sheves is unemployment, as long as he's not able to work, he has to pay for the time that he's not able to work. And Ripoy is how much it costs to heal him. And those are 4 of the damages. There's also another one called Boshes that he has to pay for how much humiliation. That's also, the humiliation itself is worth money. But here the case is that it was not done with the kavanah, so then there's no chiyuv of boshes, because we learned that there's no chiyuv to pay for shame only if you intended. If you didn't intend, then there's no payment of boshes. So here they just fell in, he didn't do it on purpose, not for managag, so there's no payment of boshes. Back to Yibum, Amar Rava. He had intention with his organ to press against the wall. And happened to be that his Yevamos was there. Means he didn't have any intention from Ma'aser Bia. So again, it's like Yoshein and Nitka. This is also the same place. So look, he meant to have relations with an animal, which of course is a chiyuv skila. But that's not the point. The point is that he had intention from Ma'aser Bia, and it happened that the Ma'aser Bia wasn't a Yevama. He thought that was an animal. Really, it was his Yevama. So kana, because he had intention from Ma'aser Bia. The ha kamachav the shem bia ba'olam. That's called a bia, even though it wasn't a human being. That's also called a ma'aser bia. In a wall, in something, something that's a thing, a piece of plastic, whatever it might be. So then that's the ma'aser bia. But if it's into an animal, that's called the ma'aser bia, even though it's a big avera and everything, but it's still called the ma'aser bia. That would be called that he had intention for a ma'aser bia, and it would be called a bia bama. And that's sugya. And the rest of today and tomorrow is all on the be on the sugya called hara. Hara means the beginning of a bia, but he didn't penetrate all the way. He began penetrating. And that's going to be the sugya. And the Gemara is going to bring right away. There's a pasuk that says, there's a pasuk in Parashas Kedoshim, and that means the beginning of a penetration. And that's going to be the question. And now we're not talking about Yevamos. It's going to take a long time till we get to Yevamos. Now it's talking about chayiv krisis. And that's going to be the whole day today. How do you know that chayiv krisis, that he had relations with a chayiv krisis, and he didn't make a complete bia, just the beginning of the penetration? That's enough that he should be chayiv kares. How do you know? What's the source? Eventually, tomorrow night, we'll get eventually to the sugya about Yibum, but it's a long time down the road. That's talking about having relations with Anida. Over there, it does use the word hara, and hara means the beginning of a penetration, not only a complete penetration. There's called hara, and there's gomer. Gomer means a complete, and hara means the beginning. If a man had relations with a woman who was Anida, and he revealed her nakedness, means he had relations. He penetrated a bit her womb. So that means vagina. So that's the point to say hara. It's a Persha pasuk that relations with Anida, even hara alone, would have been enough to make the chayiv krisis. You can't let Ram in the Torah. So that's good for Anida. That's the pasuk by Nida. How do you know other rise? Ashich Nida, Shar Rais Benayin. At the end, the Gemara is going to have a simple drasha, which is going to avoid all this complication. But first, the Gemara gets complicated, and then we're going to have to figure out, after it becomes simple, what are we going to do with all these complications? But the Gemara is going to bring a couple of more psukim. Maybe we'll highlight it as we go along. and try to see what we can do with the other psukim. First thing Gemara says is not Ashkani, the Shah Arais Benai. How do you know the other Arais also, even the beginning of a penetration, is enough to be Chayiv increases? You can't learn from Nida and say the same thing. Whatever Nida applies to other Arais also from Svara alone, just by saying Mamatzinu. If Nida, so to others. No, because there's a difference. Nida is more Chamur. You do find the Chumrah by Nida that if a man has relations with a Nida, he becomes Tameh. It's called a Baal Nida. He becomes Tameh. Whatever the Chumrah that the Nida has, the Baal Nida also becomes Tameh. So that doesn't apply to any other kind of Erevin. Never does it come on. That's not even Shaykh. That the tumah goes on to the boil that you don't have anything else. So that's chumrah by nida. Maybe the halacha of hara also only applies to a nida. That's the cloud always. If you find they want to make a common mamatzinu, if you find some chumrah, then you're not entitled to make they're not comparable. This is more chumrah. Let's get this person over here. This is a person that says by Eishasach. If a person takes his brother's wife, Nidahi. In other words, not a Nida. That's not the Pashup Shah. Nidahi, that means that she's pushed away. The word Nida always means pushed away. Even by Nida from a menstrual cycle also means that she's supposed to be pushed away. She's supposed to be Marchika. But it says the same word by a brother's wife. Also, she's supposed to be distanced. But the more is not that Nidahi means she's like a Nida. Is she a Nida? If Nidahi is a brother's wife a Nida. Doesn't do with the nida, elakanida. It must be. We'll learn out that it has the same din as a nida, as we said. Man nida b'haraf. Once we know by nida that says feverish esmekora hara, and it says feverish that there's a din hara by a nida. So too in the titles learn out also that there's such a din by Eishes Zakab also. But the Gemara says no, that wouldn't be. And now what does the Gemara want to say? Once we know Eishes Zach, so we can learn out to all the other rights also. It's true. We learned that by nida b'feverish, and also Eishes Zach is a drasha because it says b'feverish is like a nida. So two of the rights, not all other rights, that if you see by two of them, that even if hara is alone to make it considered a relation, cohabitation, so too by all other rights similarly. But the Gemara says no. Ma'ala Eishasach can be other liberals. The boy Mekadesh was Luki Alpha. You can't learn out from Eishasach. Eishasach alone would not be a source to learn out to others because Eishasach has a chumrah. The Gemara says the chumrah is, I don't understand the chumrah so much, but it says that it's possible that it could be numberless. The fact that his brother's wife is usher, his brother could have many wives. The more wives his brother takes, they become usher. It's not a limited thing. There's no limit how many wives a brother could have. So if so, that's called Yodel Rabbis. It's possible to become more than it without any limit. But other arais is not like that. It means a person's brother or a person's mother. Things that they have to do with birth, but there it's not Yodel Rabbos. It's only marriage. You can marry more. So that would be a kasha that you can't learn out to those arais that don't have the ability to increase them. So that wouldn't be a good source. The word alpha means even 1,000. His brother could take 1,000 wives. So I have a different drasha. So far we have nida, and we have drasha nida by brother's wife. There's a third person. It's also to marry a father's sister and a mother's sister. An aunt. Yevamos. Let's also highlight this one also. There's a pasuk where it says also the word haro. We had it before by nida. Now we have it also by a father's brother and father's sister and a mother's sister. And it says the word haro here also. Here's haro. So the one about the Eishes Zachav didn't say haro, it just said nida here. Not that nida here. It says openly that haro also. So you want to learn out from here to all arais. If you see by a chos aviv, a chos imo, that a father's sister or a mother's sister that's considered an erva, and even hara, even the beginning of a penetration is enough. So too to all arise. But no, you can rifrach malachos abba chosein shekain isabah me'elav. The fact that it comes on by himself without any kind of marriage, that's a chumrah the other way. Before the fact that he can make many marriages, and here the chumrah is that opposite. The fact that it comes himself without any act, that's also considered a chumrah. So you can't learn out to those isurim that have to do with marriage. So you can't learn out from any. So far we weren't successful. You can't learn out from neither alone. You can't learn out from a brother's wife alone, and you can out from. So far we have no source. We do know that these three is even hara, but we don't know the rest of the arayas. So far we said you can't learn out from one, but maybe maybe learn from two, a combination of two. We have three things to work with. If we can learn out the combination of two of them learn out to all arise. From which ones would you like to learn out to all other arise? Maybe learn out from the two blue ones. But both of them they didn't have so to all other rice also. Unless you're going to find the common denominator of chumrah that both of them have that nothing else has. And we do find these are considered relations. These are blood relations. Brother's wife and a father's sister, mother's sister. They wouldn't have those that are not considered blood relations. Maybe the combination of the first and the third. Together with the nida. Which one is not considered she'er? Nida is not considered she'er. They come by themselves because the nida also comes by itself. She becomes a nida without any kind of act. She becomes a nida, and so to achos it wasn't any kind of marriage over there. Ella tasting me nida ve'eshesach. Do 1 and 2. The fact nida and a eshes ach. The my pachas over there is no pircha. The Gemara thinks that there's no common denominator of pircha between a nida and a ach. A nida ve'eshes ach is true. And a common denominator of between both of them that doesn't apply to other rayas. That there's nothing that becomes mutter in the life of the one who's causing the issa. Means let's say eshesach. Eshesach, as long as there's no way that issa goes off. Even if someone will be divorced or something, it wouldn't take off the issa. And by nida also. Is not as long as the dam is there, it's also asa. So that there are some cases. The one is looking for ish now. The one thing wouldn't be able to learn out is the ish because the ish well, that even though she was once upon ish, but if the husband divorces her, she becomes mutter, and you don't have anything similar to that. Maybe ish is more lenient to all the other arayas, even though by all the other arayas hara is enough to be considered a relation, but cohabitation, but that wouldn't be a raya to ish, because that's more lenient, the fact that it's possible to become mother in the lifetime of their husband that made it us if he would divorce her. But the Gemara is not happy with the accuracy of saying the way that it's that the chumrah is ein lahem heter b'chai yosran and ish is yesh leter yosran. Only avacha b'difti l'ravina atu nida v'eish tzach b'chai yosran ein lahem heter l'havim kanesh lahem heter. It's not accurate the way he said it. These two they have to be being mutter as long as the oster is there. First of all, neither is us even after the blood finished. Neither mills. It's not just that she's not flowing after she's flowing blood. She still lasts 7 days, even if blood. And Eishasach, when I'm telling you, Rahmana, is it to marry your brother's wife? Is if he would have died his life, and he wanted to marry his wife. But it's not a question of being in his lifetime. We have to edit a little bit the kasha. The kasha was Malani the Beishasach Shekene Osu Matira. Tama Beishasish Osu Matira, that by a Nida and the Eishasach, it's true that they're Usser, but the point we want is that the Oser is not the Matir, that the blood, which makes her Usser, doesn't make her Mutter. And the brother that makes her Usser does not make her mutter. But the Eishasish is very unique, that the one who made her Usser makes a mutter. The husband, who's the one who's the cause of the Issa, that she's not allowed to marry other people, he's allowed to give her a get, and he can make her mutter. So the Gemara finds that that Eishasish is a lenient more than all other arayas, and you wouldn't be able to learn out, even from all of these. We have 3 things that says beferish. It says beferish haraz chai. And by Eishasach, we learned out from a pasuk of Nidahi. Those 3 we do know. But even if you combine, you'd be able to learn out everything besides Eishasish. Eishasish is more lenient than everything, and you wouldn't be able to have that Aros Chayiv over there. So we're stuck. And now the Gemara says there's an answer, and a very simple answer. Elam Rav Yonah. This is the famous occasion of Rav Yonah. That it says about all arais, it says if anybody does any of these abominations. So this pasuk says that all arais are compared, and here we're talking about nida. Needs going to be the source. It means all you need is in this pasuk. Nida says over there hara is enough to make chayiv, and this pasuk says that all the arais are considered compared to each other, and not only a mamatzino on her own, the pasuk itself says he is makish. So therefore, if it's simple, the Gemara said this right away, and we would not have needed all the drushes we said, and we're not going to need the whole daf coming up. But the Gemara did it purposely because it wanted to make that there are other psukim, and now we're going to figure out what I need them for. So if we go back to Amud Aleph, we started with the pasuk by Nida, Esmakol Ra Ha'era, and that's the only pasuk you need. Esmakol Ra Ha'era by Nida, and plus the pasuk that says Kol Teva, the Keshet Avyona, we know already. And now we have two extra psukim now. These two psukim that we use, you don't need them anymore. You don't need the pasuk of Beishasach that says Nida, you don't need it anymore to learn out Hara, and you don't need the pasuk that says Hara, by Achosav and Achosim. So that's going to be the rest of the Gemara now to figure out what do you do with these two extra psukim. First, we thought that you needed them, but we came out that you don't need them. They weren't good enough, and you don't need them. So what are you going to do with these two psukim? That's the rest of the Gemara now. So now it's gonna, you could call the whole thing as a big bonus now, big tangent, because the mice we don't need this drasha. But once we brought them in, we want to know what does it say it for. So the Gemara is going to ask that second kasha and the fourth wide line. How come it says by Choseim? These are the two kashas that have to be asked. So the first kasha was how come by Eshes Nida? What does it have to call the Nida for? As far as I wrote, we know it already. The Chidra Afun is another drasha. Remes the Yevamos you know that a Yevama is mutter. The Yevama is mutter, doesn't make sense. Menayin, Yevama, there's no question. It says the parsha about marrying a Yevama. You don't need a pasuk for that. He meant to say, how do you know that it's also to marry a brother in his lifetime? Which would mean if there's no din of Yibum. There's no din of Yibum, it's also to marry. And the Gemara is going to say, even if he divorces her, it doesn't help that he divorced her. It's also to marry a brother's wife only in the case of Yibum where he died without children. Otherwise, it's also even if he divorced her, even if he died. So the Gemara says, Hi Svarohi. We can figure it out on our own. If the pasuk says that she's mutter after the husband dies without children, so we could deduce from there that as long as the husband is alive, it will be usher. The brother's alive, it's usher to marry his wife only if he dies without children. But the Gemara says no, that wouldn't be a proof of Dilma. Mitzvah. It's only coming to be mechadish by you. It's a mitzvah to him to marry his brother's wife. But if not for the fact children and he died, then it would be not a mitzvah, but maybe it's a rishon. The brother would have divorced. Maybe it's mutter to me. I don't know that. Maybe the dik is only to say that after he dies, that's when it would be lacha mitzvah's bala in. Oh no, the Gemara says you're right. Maybe you would be able to learn that it's asr, but you wouldn't know how asr it is. Maybe it would be true that you'd be able to be medayik that if the pasuk says after he dies, marry, that means that as long as he's alive, you're not allowed to marry, even if she's divorced. But you might say that it's not so serious. The lava b'machlal I say, if that would have been the only source that you're not allowed to marry your brother's wife after he divorces her, it's only because the pasuk says that marry her after he dies without children. So then the severity would have only been extent of an asay that if you learned out that you're able to deduce that it's like do something, so you could infer from that something that even if the brother divorces his wife, that's what to tell. This pasuk nidahi, which that's what it comes to. The chiyeish zacham nidahi. Disaster occurs. Okay. So to sum up that Gemara, after we started in general, we zoomed out. We wanted to know how do you know hara. We came out that it's simple. But Nida says beferish, and there's a pasuk Kekeshri Abiona that says Kol Teva Zayla. That's how you know everything is similar. everything is bara. And that's simple as our main subject. Now we're going to 2 extra psukim to figure out. One was by neither that it said that one anything about Haro. We know that already. The Mar comes out is coming to tell you that if there's no situation of Yibum, then it's Chayv Kares. Even if he died or he divorced her, it's Kares only in the case of Yibum as a mutter, otherwise it's Mamish Kares. And he wouldn't have known that. He would have thought that it's only an Asay, or he would have thought that it's mutter. So now it tells you that Kares. And the other question is, the other pasuk that's extra now was that it says by Achos Av and Achos Eim, it says Haro. That was the pasuk that says, just scroll back a second. That was this pasuk over here. And this pasuk is extra because we know Hara. Because it says by neither, and it says called for all our rayas. So why do you need the pasuk that it says Hara by a father's sister and a mother's sister? The answer is the Chedavoy V'nei Revinim Merabah Hamar B'Zochar Mahu. How do you know about Mishkav Zochar? Homosexuality, that all give a penetration is already chayv skila. How do you say Zochar Mishkav Isha Ksiv? Over there it says that whatever applies to a woman applies to a man, to a male. And also, since we know by a woman, we learned that from Anida, that even the beginning of a penetration is already chayv, so too by a Zochar. So you don't need that pasuk. The question was, how do you know by an animal? That's also bestiality, I think it's called, that if someone has relations with an animal, so there's chayiv misa also. And how do you know over there that even the beginning of a penetration is chayiv already? Amalei, Amen, Indian La Roa, Siva Gabi Yachos Alba, Mamash Pasuk, Dasya Vacation of Yona, Tane, Windian La Roa, Behema, that our pasuk is extra. This pasuk we said here is extra. This pasuk of Hara that it says by your father's sister or a mother's sister is extra, and it's unnecessary. And by Behema we have unknown. Over there. So the also is Chaymis already. The Gemara is asking that interesting point that this is the only place the Torah found to tell you the din of Hara. If it wanted to tell you the din of Hara by Behema, it should have said something similar. Didn't want to say by Behema alone, but it should have said by something similar by Chaymis, because someone who has relation to animal is Chaymis bezin. Capital punishment. Put it by a case of chayv krisus of having relations with a father's sister or mother's sister. That's the most kasha. Now, Behema chayv is bezdani. Behema is very serious. It's very serious offense, capital punishment. My time It would have been more reasonable. We would have thought the Torah would have put this remez about Hara, by Behema, would have put it by a similar Ave, which is Mrs. Bezdin. Why did it put it by Chavi Krisus? The answer is, I did the Kulek Kulek Russia, Asi Ksiv Nebei Nami Yom Milsa Russia. The whole pasuk over there by Achos Av and Achos Eim, the whole pasuk is for Russia, and because of that, that's what the pasuk found it place to put this drasha. Also, even the stock not so similar. One is Chayv Mrs. Bezdin, one is Chayv Krisus, but that's where the pasuk puts it. And because of this, we got a big bonus here. I'm not sure. I didn't learn the Gemara yet, but it looks like this bonus goes on and on and on and on until the bottom of the next page. That I think all this is going to be the bonus of why the pasuk over there is used all about drushes. And we're going to learn as we go along different halachas that we didn't know. The main subject is going to be when we say somebody is a brother or a sister, does it mean paternal or maternal? It might only be someone's a brother, might only be from this common father, not from a common mother. And that's what we're going to learn out a lot. A lot of these things is going to be learned out in this pasuk. Eventually we'll get the whole pasuk to be drushes. And this thing was also going to be about Rabbi Behema. The drasha we said was the pasuk that it says, here it is, let's get the pasuk on the screen. This pasuk Hara you don't need, because we know Hara from Manida and Kesha. So it comes to tell you Hara of Behema. And it's not important because this is Chayv Krisus, that's Chayv Mrs. Bezdin. But this whole pasuk is going to be darshan for drushes. So that's why you're throwing this drush also. And Adagma is going to zoom out. Tell me the whole pasuk is about drushes. So it starts off. This halacha that it says by a brother, the issur to marry a father's sister. Don't relations with a father's sister. What kind of a sister? How is it a father's sister? Is it a father's sister even from a common mother? That it's only a father's sister through a mother. That's the halacha. That even if it's only a sister, a father's sister through the mother, that's also enough to be and chayv koros to have relations with her. Is that true? How do you know that? Maybe it's only going to be if it's a paternal sister. You might say, I have a place to learn it out from. This what we're going to say now comes many times in the Gemara coming up now, so we'll try to get it straight. I'll just say it outside. There are two things that are givens. One is going to be a sister. A sister, it's also to have relations with a sister. That says Perish is going to be no difference if it's through a mother or through a father. And there's also going to be Allah on the other side. There's one case where it's only through a paternal, not through a maternal. The Allah not to marry a father's. But the Torah, there's a difference between a father's sister, a mother's sister, that's called an aunt, and a father's brother's wife. So that's only usher if it's a father's brother through the father. The halacha that it's usher to marry a father's brother's wife is only if the father and the brother and his brother are brothers from a common. But if it would have been a common mother, that wouldn't make it usher to marry the brother's wife. A father's brother's maternal brother's wife, not usher to marry. So those are the two givens. I think therefore we're learning out everything else. Is it going to be or even from the mother, or only from the father? So we're starting off about a father's sister, and we're saying even if it's a father's sister from the mother, is that so? Maybe not. So it says we would say learn it out from the din of a sister. We find that this is to marry a sister. You can't have a relationship with this one's own sister. That's one way to look at it. Just like by a sister, it's even a maternal sister. Also, by the father's, even a maternal sister. But no, we find something else. So we find is a chiyuv to have a da. The da here, the Gemara means a father's brother's wife. But over there, maybe learn out this halacha of a father's sister from a father's brother's sister. By a father's brother's sister, it's only also if it's from a paternal brother. So too maybe a father's sister is like that. So you have to have a drasha. First, let's try. Which one is more similar? That on one hand it says it's more similar to a sister. A sister is not through marriage, and so to a father's sister is not through marriage. But a father's brother's wife is through marriage, so it's not so similar. Learn out from the more similar. Say that it's going to be like a sister, and it's even from a maternal relation. But maybe not. Maybe it's a similarity more to a father's brother's wife. There is already more between a father's sister to a father's brother's wife, because it has to do with his father's relations. Someone's own sister, that's his own business, his own level. But you're talking about the father's relations, you see that maybe a father's relations is only through the paternal relations. Like you say, a father's brother's wife, if it's a father's brother through the father, so maybe a father's sister, it's also only going to be through a paternal relation. That's why I need the pasuk. That's what we're happy with. So we're happy with that part so far. That was the first Russian. Now we continue. I didn't have to highlight this. So let's part of the pasuk. We said and we said a drasha. Now we're going to say also that's also going to be to tell you this part of that's the drasha. Now you don't need it. How come you need both of them? Once you know one, you know the other one also. That if you want to know one, you wouldn't know the other. On one hand, the father's family is the one that usually you go with the father. The father's family is called more of a family. Mishpachto, as far as many halachas, is only considered the yichus of somebody goes with his father. And maybe Nachla also has to do with that. So maybe even over there, maybe we're going to say even if it's going to be through a maternal sister. But talk about the mother's sister. Maybe by your mother is different. Maybe it's only going to be us if it's going to be the mother's sister from a common father. So you wouldn't know it. And the other way, what's the mile of a mother? Because it's surely his mother. A mother, we know she gave birth, but a father, you have chazaka. Yeah, we hope nobody did any Averis, but it's not as vadai as the mother. So then you wouldn't know. Even over there by Yachos Simcha, you say even if it's from the mother, But you wouldn't know that Erbas Achol Zavicha, you wouldn't know over there to say also that the mother also will have that same chumrah. So therefore, you need both psukim. If it does so, the pshita leila. Okay, finished. That we finished. So far we have these two drushes of the pasuk. But talk today in the discussion when we were discussing it, became as a given fact that the issa to marry father's brother's wife is only if it's from the common father. That was a given. We said, on one hand you have sister, on the other hand you have the father's brother's wife. But why is it a given? This seems to be a parenthesis within the parentheses. Maybe we'll make some kind of a marking over it. It does so. The pshita letana, the mina'av. How does he know? Why is it such a given that the issa to marry a father's brother's wife is only if it's a father's brother, a common father, a common mother? It talks about a dod. A dod is a here it says that by marrying uncle's wife, it's considered a disgrace to the uncle, or whatever, however we translate that pasuk, but it means that it's that's the issue to his wife. When it talks about sold his nachla, so the tip should redeem it. Over there it says that uncle or his cousin, Dodo is his uncle, Ben is not uncle's son, cousin. So over there it talks about Dodo, and over there it means nafka from the father's side. Over there it talks about an uncle. That doesn't mean an uncle through a mother. It has to be nafka from a father. Again, I mean to say father's brother, Dodo is a father's brother, but a common father, and not from a common mother. How do you know? How do you know over there it's talking about that from a common father? Over there it talks about that it's from his family. Family means afka father. The next kasha the Gemara wants to know, it starts here a long kasha, but we can go a little bit further. All it's going to say is going to be a long Mishnah that's a bit complicated. I didn't get all the details, but the point is going to be to prove that the issa to marry a wife's sister. A wife's sister. That's also chiv chorus. To marry a wife's sister, as long as she's alive, that's to marry a wife's sister. Is that a sister from a common father or a common mother? The issa to marry a wife's sister. Wife is only a sister from a common mother, not from a common father. So all we want to say is that yes, it's also even from a common mother, and that's what the Gemara after brings this long Mishnah over. There's a Mishnah here that's now 5 lines till the bottom of the page. From here on, it's all a Mishnah in the 10th parak. But all the Gemara is that is what it says on the top of the next page. Alma chos ishta that the issa to marry a wife sister is even if the only issa from the mother. Now that's going to be the next Gemara for tomorrow. But just learn the Mishnah over here. How do we know that? How do we know the fact that it's also to marry a sister, even if it's only a sister from the mother? There's a fancy case over there. Let's say the case, there was 5 women. The first woman was his wife. She had a sister from a common father. That sister had a sister from a common mother. Not the same one, not the first one. They all become less and less related. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. 1 and 2, they're all women. 5 women. 1 and 2 had a common, 2 and 3 had a common mother, 3 and 4 had a common father, and 4 and 5 had a common mother. I would put it, I would have made a diagram, but for now it's good enough. I hope. Matzah Shabbos also won't be time to make a diagram, maybe, but we'll see. But here it says the case was that he had a wife, and they told him that she died. So he married her sister, and then they told him that she died. He married her sister, and then they told him that she died. He married the next sister, and then it comes out the whole thing was a bluff. They're all alive. So again, the first one was the first 1 and 2 were a common father, 2 and 3 were a common mother, 3 and 4 were a common father, 4 and 5 were a common mother. So after it comes out, the big scandal comes out that they lied to him, and really they all were alive. Who remains his wife and who is not his wife? So the first one is his wife. He's last they married to her. But the second one was his wife's sister, not allowed. But the third one, he wasn't related to. He only had the first wife. The second wife was not his wife. Because it's a chaytan. Right. So the third one, who's is his wife, and the fifth one is his wife. That's what it says over here. And then it's going to say the opposite case. They told somebody your wife died. So he married her from a common father. And they told her, they say she also died. And then then he married her sister from a common mother. Again, Mesa, they told him that she died. He married her sister. And then they told him Mesa, so altogether 5 women. But and then they ended this, they're missing over here, and then they come out that they're all alive. They come back, they all come back on a trip. They went for a trip to the same place. They come back. So he's mutter to the number 1, 3, and 5. Those are the ones who are his wives. And both those are saying, if they're the case of Emo, not our business right now. But the second and the fourth, they're not as they're the sister of his wives. Okay, we'll leave that for now. In Baal Ashniya, the first one really did die. The story, the first wife really did die. And the second marriage was a marriage. The second marriage was a kosher marriage because his wife had already died. And then Mutter B'Shniya V'Revius, the Pater Serasein, Vasa B'Shlishis of V'Chamishis. So then the second and fourth are his wives, and the third and the fifth are not. I was talking about that they were common wife from the common mother. And here it says that the Issa to marry a wife's sister is even if it's only from a common mother, not from a common father. And that the Gemara asks, how do you know? So we'll stop here. That's the subject for Motzei Shabbos. But so far, what did we learn? Just to sum it up, the Mishnah said that the din of Baal Yevimta was even B'Shogeg, B'Mezid, B'Onis, and the pasuk for that was Yevamo Yovo Aleha. And we had some more information on the side about onus, that there are some kinds of onus that are not kona, yashin and nitka, and tiach bakosa. All those cases, there was no kavanah for bia even, so it's not kona. But if he knew he's doing a ma'aser bia, but there was an onus, what's the case? If he had erection on his own, that he did it, not anybody else did it then. So the case would be that he was erected already for a good reason, and then someone forced him onto the woman, or they forced her also. That's the case of an onus. We have some more information that Lachatchila is a mitzvah of Yibum, like it says, not Yevamo Yavaleh, but the pasuk was, Lo Yachpos Ish Lachachta. So that means that Lachatchila should do Yibum. We also said that Kedarka, which we learn out from, what was the pasuk over there? That was the dust to say it's supposed to be Kedarka. We learn out even Shalom Kedarka is Kona from Mulukah. There's no kesef for shar because it says v'yavma, and the hay tells you even balkocha. All those were side rushes, and agav abav and nazik, and also that there are 5 payments of damages. But if it was without kavanah, so then there's boshes and a behema. A kavanah to have relations with a behema would be considered a ma'aser bia. It would be considered a kinyan. The main issue of the Mishnah after that was about that's going to be the whole sugya now. That Arua is also Kona. The Gemara difficulty to know what the source is. 2 places it says the favorite. The one we're going to use to learn how to alter Kol Kulas by Nida. Nida says Mekol Ra Hera, and there's another person that says Kol Teva Seila Kesha Rabiona. All the rayas are the same, so we learn out by all the rayas. It's even Arua is enough to make it chayim. So for Chayve Krisos, the Gemara is going to continue tomorrow. How do you know Chayve Lavin? How do you know Chayve Asay? How do you know Yevamos? There's going to be more drushes for all that. But so far, we just know all the Chayve Krisos. You have 2 extra psukim that we don't need, and the Gemara is going to try to dash in them. One drusha we did so. That's going to be the pasuk about Isha Sachib that it says over there Nidahi, that you don't need the pasuk to say Nidahi. They learn out to. Did I make a mistake about that? That was no. I'm sorry. The first one about Nidai was to learn out that the Yevamos chayv chorus when there's no mitzvah. If it was that the brother divorced his wife, I'll throw an argument with children, then it's going to be a chayv chorus, and that you will not. And the other pasuk by Achos Avin says Hara, that's to learn out Hara b'behema. And the rest of the Gemara is mamash that why did the pasuk choose to tell you Hara b'behema by a case of a chayv krisos? It should have said it by chayv misas like behema. And that the Gemara says because all is for drasha, and we're middle of the drashas. So far we learned that the halacha of Achosav and Achosein is even if it's only a sister to the father or a sister to the mother through a common mother. That's the halacha that it tells you. You wouldn't have known. You would have thought that it's like the Odaso, which is only from common father. Should mean the halacha that it's also to marry is only if the father and the brother are from a common father, and that rocks the boat, that maybe always it's only going to be from a common father, and it's not true. So that pasuk had to tell us all these rushes to tell you that even if it will be a father's sister or a mother's sister from a common mother, that's also going to be fine. That's your call, everybody.
Thank you very much. What time is it on Motzei Shabbos?
What do you think? We should push it off to 9.